Hello viewers, we have with us Dr. Diksha Dave, Faculty, School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, who will be speaking on a very important and relevant topic, family planning, a human right. To know more about this important issue, I request Dr. Diksha Dave to make her presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Shivangi. You all must be aware that India is the second most populous country in the world. And this is because of so many factors. It is predicted that by 2024, we will surpass China. The present population of India is 1.31 billion and of China it is 1.4 billion. This is attributed because of so many factors. Like there is increase in birth rate, the death rate is declining, poverty, illiteracy, all these type of causes are responsible for increase in population of the country. Demographers, public health experts and population specialists, they use one factor to describe, the population growth of any region, and that particular factor is total fertility rate. If we look at Indian states, it is around 3.3 for Bihar, 2.6 for Uttar Pradesh, 2.3 for Rajasthan and 1.6 for Kerala and 1.3 for the Sikkim. That means we have a huge variation in our country. In some states, the population is increasing, while at some states, it has been stabilized. Now, again, if we talk about the death rate, we have controlled the death rate and it has come down because of the improvement in the medical facilities that we have in our country now. People have become more health conscious, and apart from we have also control of epidemics that once used to take a toll on large number of lives of the people. Now, because of these factors, the population of the country rises. And average life expectancy, if we see, it was somewhere around 47 years in 1964. And today it is 68 years. So, owing to all these factors, we can say that the population is rising. And this population growth exerts pressure on the natural resources, and it is difficult for the Mother Earth to sustain. Apart from the rising numbers, we also have other factors which degrade the ecosystems and the natural resources that we have. Now we come to the issue of family planning. Family planning has always been taken as an instrument so as to control the number of children that are taking birth. It can be said as the practice of controlling the number of children one has and the intervals between their births. Particularly, it is done by means of contraception or voluntary sterilization. We have to understand two things in this. Firstly, family planning pertains to the practice where a woman or a parent is able to decide how many children one wants. And secondly, it is also important to have proper spacing between the children taking place. Now, we consider this as a health issue. Whereas in the long term, if we look at the economy of any country or the development of any country, we must consider, and it is very important to know, that family planning is also a social issue apart from the health issue, because it gives a kind of gender equality in the society. Women have to accord rights. They must be aware of what rights they do have, and they should have the full authority regarding the decision of whether to have children, when to have the children, and what should be the spacing between the children. So that is the meaning of family planning, whereas it has been taken as only the means of controlling the birth rate, because we have always focused upon that family planning is a means to know that how many children are born to a particular couple or in a particular family. Here I would like to stress upon how these changes have taken place. There is a remarkable conference which is called International Conference on Population and Development, which was held in 1994 at Cairo. This was a landmark conference because all the earlier population discourses were only meant to see that how the population can be brought down. It only focused on the number and statistics of the population numbers. However, in this conference, for the first time, we discussed the population issue in a much broader terms. We discussed that how maternal mortality rate is important. What is the meaning of reproductive rights? What role does the education of women play towards population control? So in that way, it was a landmark event which brought a change in the outlook of the policy framers, and thereafter all these issues, that family planning, the need-based approach, started coming into the picture. Then if we are talking about the family planning as a human right concept, it is important to mention about the conference, which was an international conference on human rights that was held at Tehran in 1968. And in this conference, it was for the first time made clear that family planning is a human right. And in this conference, 157 countries across the world, they accepted that parents have a right to freely and responsibly decide the number and spacing of their children. If we talk about India, India was the first country in the world to adopt an official national population policy in 1952, just after the independence. After this, the series of population-related measures took place in the country, and it is also important to mention about the 5-year plans. In every 5-year plan, there was a special mention of the population and what is the role of the health clinics is there. How can you establish health centers in the rural areas? How can you educate the people regarding population policies? And how can you make people aware, especially women, that what is the role and what is the importance of having small families? How can you give your children better education, better health if you have a small family? After this, for example, you must have heard about the universal immunization program that came in 1985. That was also very important to raise an issue about the immunization because it prevented the children from so many other diseases. Similarly, we have National Rural Health Scheme, which came out in 2005. That was also a landmark event because it also gave people an information and education regarding the healthy families. How can a healthy family, healthy children can play important role in the development of any country. So in that way, India has played a very important role, and nowadays also government has started several programs, several schemes regarding educating the people about the importance of small families and the family planning. Now, what is the importance of family planning if we consider as a whole? For women, it is a health issue because it helps to prevent pregnancy-related health risks in women. There are so many types of risks because there is always a negligence on the part of the male members in a family, and women also do not take care of themselves in that regard, because it is always said that women who are giving birth to child at an early age, for example, we have adolescent pregnancies. If women herself is not physically strong, there are various obvious chances that the childbearing is affected. In that way, if we have a proper planning of proper family planning existing in our country, which gives due services, due importance and due facilities to the people, it will be able to stop some kind of a pregnancy related illness in the women. Secondly, if you talk about reducing infant mortality, generally if you see the trends, when do the children do not complete their first birthday? It is mostly at the times it has been seen that when they are born to the mothers at an early age, or when the previous birth, there is a gap between the previous birth and this birth, if it is very less, or if the childbearing age is too much and at that time the birth is taking place. Now, infant mortality rate is curbed if you have a proper family planning measures in our country. For example, if you have proper services, if you have proper infrastructure, if the people have the right to decide on their own, if they have access to those services, it is much obvious that you are able to control the infant mortality. Then the diseases, we have sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, AIDS. In the absence of proper information, the people or the parents, they are not having, and there is a widespread of these type of diseases occurring in the society. Then adolescent pregnancies. Adolescents are weak. They do not have proper knowledge. In the absence of sufficient knowledge, and when the bodies themselves are weak, it is much obvious. And ultimately, the objective of family planning is not just to reduce the number of the people who are inhabiting a particular space, but to have a proper spacing. That is the meaning, that It doesn't mean that only the numbers have to go down, but also it is essential that we have a proper quality human population which can play an instrumental role towards the development of the country. For the success of every family planning, you have to make it effective. First of all, you have to see that the family planning services are available. When I talk about the availability, it means that there should be a full scope. The choices that whether it is a temporary method or it is a permanent method or it is a hormonal or it is non-hormonal or it is dependent upon the client or the service provider dependent methods are there. So the people in the far off places of the country, even the remotest people, irrespective of any distinction of caste, religion, race, the family planning services should be available to all. Means the choices should be there. There should not be any kind of coercion. There should not be any kind of burden. Initially, family planning programs, when it started in India, they were target based. And target based leads to, just putting in some number, just counting the number of IUDs you have inserted or the number of the clients who have visited and come to your place. That should not be the case. There should be number of choices available for the people so that according to the needs of the community and the needs of the particular family, the choices can be taken off. Another thing is that accessibility. Accessibility is not only in the terms of physical accessibility of particular device or particular method or the service, but financial accessibility is also very important. They should have a reach, they should have a knowledge. If it is available, they should be able to reach out to that service so that they can make use of it. And unless and until we are not able to just access, if the people are not able to access those devices, then all the measures of the family planning will fail. Then information. Accessibility to the information is also very essential because people have half knowledge. In our country, talking about sexuality is considered to be a taboo. We don't talk about in open. The women do not express their concerns in open. So in that case, accessibility to the information and education also plays a very important role. And non-discrimination. There shouldn't be any discrimination on the basis of gender, on the basis of religion, on the basis of race, on the basis of region. That shouldn't be the case. So if accessibility is there to different parts, I think that is an essential element. That's a very crucial element towards provision of family planning services. Then acceptability. People should accept the method, the devices or the services which the service providers are giving at the primary health centers. Not on the basis of any kind of coercion, not on the basis of any kind of targets, not on the basis of any compulsion. People should accept, they should have complete knowledge and they should accept willingly that yes, family planning is essential. Small families ensures better health, better education and future to their children and also to themselves. So I think acceptability from their own, that should come from within, and that will come through education. So that is most important. And quality of the service. We have seen what happened in 2014 in Chhattisgarh camp when sterilization camp was put in. So many women died because of negligence on the part of the service providers. So that is also very important, where service providers should be, first of all, they should be skilled, they should be trained, and apart from it, the service that you are providing, it should be medically and scientifically appropriate. We shouldn't consider, it happens in the earlier times when we were only target specific, when community needs assessment came in 1996, when we started to explore, the midwives role came into the picture and we started to explore the role of the communities, and they, the midwives, they started visiting the villages, they explored the needs of the communities, of the particular families, what is the need. So that approach is different. So quality of the service, you just don't have to meet your targets and bring down the population and go by the targets that you have set, that you have to reduce the number by this and this. But the quality of a service in terms of education, counseling and the service that you are giving, that is also very important. We have certain components in this regard. Without these components, all the family planning measures would fail. And as I just now mentioned, it is about information and counseling. There are certain instances where the women, first of all, do not approach the health center because of hesitation or any other factor. So in that case, what happens, that they have half knowledge. They have the knowledge which is coming out from the older generations. Then various occasions the service providers do not give them proper guidance which is necessary. So counseling is very important to make them aware about what are the devices and methods available. Then supply and services. This also has been seen in various instances in our country that there are contraceptives are out of stock. They are not what as I said just now, full informed and complete choice is essential. So if this whatever the women ask or whatever the families ask, what kind of contraceptives or what kind of methods they are asking, if it is not available, there is a gap between. So we have to ensure there is a steady supply of these services so that people, as and when they require, they can use them. And for effective family planning, I think this is very important. People walk long distances, they go to far-flung places to avail these services, and at that time they feel that it is not available, the doctors or the trained nurses are not available, or particular device is not available. In that case, they do not visit the health center again. So such kind of scenario should not exist. Then research is very important. You have to continuously think of what can be the other methods, what can be the modern methods. In some families, still you will find the traditional methods are prevalent. So that clearly indicates that do not have either the knowledge about the modern methods or they do not have the access to the modern methods. So therefore, there is some kind of lagging is there between the demand and the supply. That is important. And trained manpower, as just now it is mentioned, that it is very essential to have people trained in this kind of thing. They should consider human life as something which is of value. Human beings are a resource. Women are central for the development of any country, and if their health we can invest, whatever investments we are making in today's women, that are the investments in the future of our country, of our society. So that is very important. Proper infrastructure. If you see the difference between the rural and the urban scenarios, you will find that in rural areas there is a multi-tier system. We have primary health centers, we have sub-centers, we have small health centers. In the urban areas, however, we have civil hospital, district hospitals who are providing these kind of services. So in the rural areas, they do not have proper transportation systems. The connectivity is very low. Even some health centers are running without any buildings. So that is also very important. Sanitation is very important. Hygiene of that particular place is very important. All these together play an important role towards ensuring proper family planning services to the people. However, there are certain barriers. We have seen that although we were the first country in the world to officially declare the national population policy way back in 1952, but in spite of that, we have not been able to successfully bring down the numbers as we had desired. Because of certain factors, family planning also faces enormous challenges. For example, there is fatalism and religious beliefs. There are beliefs where abortion is considered to be a sin, where there is talking about sexuality, sex education is still considered to be a taboo. Women speaking about this thing is stigmatized. So in that circumstances, it is still considered that it is not the topic of common platform discussion, and therefore it doesn't bring out in true sense, it doesn't bring out the objectives which you have set earlier. Then there is a prevalence of harmful practices. For example, we have child marriages, we have violence, domestic violence is prevalent in our country. So in that circumstances, all the measures which we have taken earlier, they would fail. Ignorance is very important because people are ignorant, they do not have much knowledge about the existence of these services and the provision, and there is a gap in demand in services which is always prevailing over there. The role of individuals as community is very important because you have to address the social barriers by your own only. Violation of human rights, wherever it is happening, it should be curtailed. Increased access to these services, that should be demanded, and people should advocate more for employment opportunities, and a healthy transition should be there from adolescent to adulthood. So ultimately we can say that family planning is essential. It's not a privilege, but it is a right. It is essential for sustainable development of any country. A woman's ability to space and limit her pregnancies has a direct impact on her health and well-being as well as on the outcome of each pregnancy. So in a nutshell, we can say that family planning should be considered as a right so that it paves the way for sustainable development of our country.
Thank you, Dr. Diksha Dave, for this very important and timely presentation on a topic that impacts each and every one of us. Thank you.